Hello, everyone. I'm Mike,
I'm Matt.
and this is the Mind Your Own Business with Mike and Matt show. And I want you to know that we're live on our Mind Your Own Business Facebook page and our Voice of Reason Consulting Facebook page as well. So our plan every time we do this podcast is to interview business owners and entrepreneurs and ask them a few questions that we hope will be helpful for you, our viewers and listeners, who want to be inspired and want to learn how you can be better business owners and entrepreneurs yourselves. Our goal is to leave you with at least one good business nugget each time. So today, we have the pleasure of having Sankeetha Selverajah with us. Sankeetha is the managing attorney of Selvarajah Law PC, a civil transactional firm located in Boston and New York. Her clients are within the cannabis, technology, real estate, food service, e-commerce, and retail manufacturers sectors. We've invited her here today because she is also the CEO of STARTUP DOX, a unique platform designed to assist founders with cost-effective legal options for corporate formation and document generation, and specifically with attorney review. So if you know Sankeetha, you will know she's passionate about creating business by making law accessible to business owners and educating them to enable themselves to drive measurable results. So welcome, Sankeetha. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And since this is the Mike and Matt show, you know we're going to be tag teaming you with our questions. So Matt, how about asking the first question?
Sure. Hi, Sankeetha. Welcome. So tell us a little bit about your business and what makes it unique.
So we're an outside general counsel business transactional firm. So we provide outside general counsel to other small businesses and startups along the way. So from incorporation all the way to exit, merger, acquisition, sale.
Well,
And how does that, why do clients come to you for that?
So generally, a client doesn't probably know that they're a client until they decide that they want to have a business or start a business, or they already are a business owner and they need legal assistance. Sometimes they know that they need legal assistance and sometimes they don't. So a big proportion of our services are really kind of educational as well.
Actually, Matt, I thought you were going to ask, and I'll ask it then. Let's go back to Startup Docs, Sankeetha. What makes that unique?
So Startup Docs is an offshoot off of the law firm. And what that is done with you attorney review documents and formation. We wanted to make accessibility to legal services more widespread. We could have more people access legal faster, because we're finding that when I was teaching in the community, we were finding that people were overwhelmed. They were confused about what type of business documents they needed, whether they needed a lawyer, how they could access a lawyer, where they would find one. So we wanted to make it as easy as going online and looking for this and having and creating a document. That's why it's not done for you, it's done with you.
So, and would you say that that is different between other types of businesses that are similar? What would that be?
So, I mean, we're still a law firm. So attorney drafted, attorney reviewed documents. That is the difference between other legal filing services. Just because we start with the law firm, this is just a more cost-effective, more accessible service. And so we allow people to go on there and create their documents for them, as long as and also comes with a teaching component as well. I think this makes it unique in the sense that I don't know many other law firms doing this, which I hope they would. And I don't know many other legal filings do this. What happened was our law firm was cleaning up a lot of the documents and the filings that these legal filing companies were doing. So we just went out to create a more conducive approach to this.
So, Sankeetha, why did you start the business?
So I started the law firm about 12 years ago. So we've always been doing startup and small business law as transactional attorneys. However, the idea for Startup Docs came about 5 years ago. And then we got into just creating the tech behind it. And then this past year, we just launched it as well. So the idea was really a response to the community and when I was teaching and when I was talking to clients as well, as to find out what would make it easier for them to get a lawyer on board faster. Because it seems like a necessary evil, but the fact is we wanted to change that perception from being a necessary evil into a profit tool, into using your service provider, such as an accountant or a lawyer, as a profitable, proactive tool rather than a reactive, necessary burden.
Makes sense.
So a question I have is then, did you see the need in the market? Is that what propelled you to do this? Or was it something you just wanted or needed to do?
So it was a mixture of both. So I was teaching classes in the community. So I teach free classes on legal considerations for new business owners, how to start a nonprofit, how to draft a contract or understand a contract. And after each class, we usually send out a survey, or actually I basically asked the attendees, I was like, why are you here? What made you come to this class specifically for legal? And what was your issue beforehand? And obviously the number one reason was to make sure they were staying in the legal bounds and not doing anything illegal. The second thing was also the overwhelming confusion. They were like, we don't know what to do. So the market definitely had spoken in what was necessary and what was needed. I also did it as a lack of a better word, a legal practice management tool. It was easier for us to get this out so that we can actually change and send it to our current clients to say, hey, go to the docs and we can create this. And it's faster for us to actually advise you at that point. Okay, so it was literally done with you. And personally, the tertiary reason is the fact that I generally think that when a CEO or a business owner gets their hands dirty with what they need to do, like creating their own contracts, talking to their attorney or accountant, makes them a better business owner. So they're not completely removed from the process. So it also makes them a better negotiator as well, to understand the actual terms within the contract as well. So again, that's more of a selfish reason. The last one is the fact that making better business owners makes our job as legal service providers better as well, to an easier, more efficient.
Cool. So, Sankeetha, what did you do different during the pandemic?
So the pandemic was interesting. I think I'm euphemizing that, but the first 8 weeks we were helping our current clients avoid filing for bankruptcy, honestly, and filing for the PPP and the EIDL loans. So about the first 8 to 12 weeks, we were doing that. And then our simple goal was make sure no one files for bankruptcy, and to also help them pivot into a more reasonable product that they can survive the pandemic even after they get the funding as well. What we found was the fact that those companies that actually pivoted or provided a digital approach or decided to find another approach to serving their customer demographic now added a secondary revenue stream to their products as well too. So in many ways, if you survived the pandemic, you actually created more revenue streams along that. Career high for me was the fact that every company that we did file for, about 72% got funding in some fashion, and absolutely no one filed for bankruptcy. So I think that it's taken a long time, and obviously we encourage them to go and ask for the second round as well too.
Uh-huh.
So
what was the biggest issue that your firm encountered during the pandemic?
The biggest issue was people not knowing what to do. So
no. How about you?
Your firm.
Can I be honest? We were already virtual as it is. All we did was increased our broadband. Okay, so the issue was really providing enough man hours to help these companies. That was it. So it was a time issue. It wasn't accessibility. It wasn't a technology issue at all.
And what about now? Or have you changed anything since the pandemic is basically going away?
I don't think it's going away. We've increased our broadband. So I actually think the pandemic worked for us. If you learn to work with the pandemic and whatever it entailed for your business actually grew. And for us, it did the same as well. We just provided greater avenues and greater options, and we created startup docs for the people that couldn't get immediate access to us as attorneys, but they got access to the legal help that they needed.
But did you come up with the idea of startup docs during the pandemic?
No, I came up with it 5 years ago. What the pandemic gave me was the time and the technology at that point. I had to wait about 3 years for the technology to hit. And then I actually went offshore and worked with developers before we actually brought it in. So pandemic gave me time. I think that it did.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So Sankeetha, it doesn't sound like you make mistakes, but how do you know when you do make a mistake?
Oh, we have very vocal clients. And the market itself will teach you where your mistakes are. So for me, I've learned to start measuring my mistakes. So if we're not hitting the goals that we had envisioned, that for me shows me that there was some mistake in the flow, or there was inefficiency in the flow that we had to go back to and fix. So if it's not executing as quickly, if people aren't responding as quickly as what we had envisioned, or it just wasn't delivering, just simple deliverability was not there, that for me was a mistake, even before we had the vocal feedback from actual clients or customers. And also we're active solicitors of feedback. So we send out forms, we send out, hey, how can we help? We do video messaging as well too. And then we actually talk through certain aspects of the business as well, very candidly with our clients as well.
Okay. Matt, you've got a question.
What's growing your business mean to you, both professionally and personally, and what's next for your business?
So what's next is we're actually trying to expand Startup Docs to all 50 states at this point. So we're getting into legal partnerships with our own third-party providers as well, and so that we can provide this service to anyone within the United States, and not just the states that myself and were barred in, which is Massachusetts and New York. For that business, for the law firm, there's that. So Startup Docs can exist separately without the law firm. The law firm is very specific, customized for outside general counsel. Startup Docs is for done with you services that any business owner, hopefully around the country, can solicit and use as well. So looking forward to that for the next year.
Could you explain that done with you services? What does that mean? I've never heard that expression.
Yeah, I've heard it once before and I've adopted it. What it means is, like I said, I like an educated CEO. I like an educated business owner. And when I say educated, I don't mean degrees or certifications. What I mean is a savvy, street smart business owner that can also negotiate a contract and understand the ins and outs of their business as well. So basically, if they are a more seasoned CEO, they make a better business. Actually, the equation is actually sequential in that sense. So in that, we wanted to educate the CEO from the beginning on how to run a profitable company. And to do that is to actually have the contracts in place and to actually include their service providers, such as an attorney or an accountant or banker, at part of their planning process as well. So to include the team process. So that's the done with you. So it diminishes the, I hate to say this, but not, lawyers get a bad rep about with business owners where you got to I got to talk to my lawyer. We want to make this as a profitable, fun, like to say fun, or progressive move on this. So when we're doing it with you, we're your partners, not just your providers. So that's what I mean by done with you.
Great. Thank you so much. So now you recently joined the Strategic Advisory Board. So actually, let me explain for a moment. Matt and I have worked with Larry Sashin and Bob Heiss in the Strategic Advisory Board, and you recently joined that, and that is a peer-to-peer business advisory group. Why did you become part of it? Can you tell us?
Yes. So I wanted the active feedback every 2 weeks. I had a big to-do list, very big to-do list, and I wanted to launch Startup Docs by February, and I wanted the accountability. I already have a daily accountability group, but I wanted the 30,000-foot accountability group from 4 different points of view, as well as my cohort has 5 different people in it as well. So for that, I love that group think. I love the fact that people can give me that. I also myself in my business use advisory boards for our clients as well. So this just worked into what I already and resonated with me as well.
Well, that's great. So, we're moving along. And so I would like to ask you a question that I know our viewers and listeners are interested in hearing your answer. What are the most important lessons that you've learned in business?
There's so many. I think the number one is to keep innovating, right? To keep creating, to keep learning from your peers and from learning from other sectors that are not yours. Like I learned so much from the business and the e-commerce and the tech world more than I did with the legal world. And truth be told, I work with tech CEOs. So simply by osmosis, I'm going to learn something anyway, if I'm listening carefully. And even if you are a different business owner and you're in e-commerce, take a gander in the real estate world. What worked over there, or even what worked in academia, and what worked in, maybe the hair salons. Something very different. Keep your eyes open. I think for me, keeping my eyes open and asking questions. Now, these questions may seem primary from someone like me, but when I got to asking better questions, I got better answers. So finding the right person to ask the questions from and keeping your eyes open and not so focused within your sector actually gave me more ideas to innovate and actually grow my company in innovative ways.
Wow, that is absolutely fantastic. I mean, that is great. So I'm going to summarize that for our audience, that basically what you said was the number one lesson that you've learned was keep innovating, keep creating, and keep learning from other sectors. Listen carefully, keep your eyes open, and ask better questions of the right people so that you get the answers that you're looking for. Well, that's great. That's great. Well, I want to thank you so much for doing this. Did you want to say a few words about what the future for you is like and what your intentions are?
So it's been a fun ride. I'll say I had to let go of my ego to make a better company. And I imagine you two have come across many business owners like that. And part of that was actually understanding that, approaching the business as a child every day and looking at it with fresh eyes is difficult when you get mired in the details. So, including time every week for my own think time, at least 6 to 7 hours, maybe on a Saturday morning or maybe Monday morning, whatever works, really did give me that time to innovate, and understanding that I was also a commodity and an asset in itself, and spending the time on myself and my ability to innovate has also grown the company as well. So acknowledging that from the beginning was important.
Those are fantastic lessons. I think, Matt, we could certainly talk about what it's like giving up our egos.
Yeah.
You have a story to tell us on that one, Matt?
Well, I think, it was interesting because Michael and I often have very different ideas. And it took me quite a while to figure out, usually there's no one right answer in business. There's several ways you could actually approach a problem. And it took me a long time to realize that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but we've been business partners for 25 years. So at this point, when we disagree, we just end the conversation by laughing at one another. So it's, but we've been around. And actually, I do want to just say, I've never heard someone say approaching the business as a child. That's marvelous. That is very good. So I guess we're coming to a close of the broadcast. So I wanted to say that you can subscribe to our Mind Your Own Business with Mike and Matt podcast on our YouTube channel and also on our Facebook page. We have 2 Facebook pages, which is Mind Your Own Business with Mike and Matt, as well as Voice of Reason Consulting. Now, by the way, if you're interested in the Strategic Advisory Board, please drop us a line at Matt and Mike at voiceofreasonconsulting.com. And Matt?
And you can find Sankeetha at Selvarajah, that's SELVALAW.com, and her startup business at the Startup Docs, that's DOX.com.
So I'm Mike.
I'm Matt.
And together we are the Voices of Reason. This has been another Mind Your Own Business podcast with Mike and Matt.
And everyone stay positive, test negative, and thank you all for watching. See you again soon.
Bye-bye, everybody.